Speaking on technological progress, we in Bulgaria identified very carefully how to fit and incorporate our potential in research and development, in sciences, into the general European trend. I believe that the implementation of the renewed Lisbon strategy is already bringing quite many fruits and results for the European Union. But still, many things have to be done and strengthened as coherency and interrelation between the policies within this strategy. Taking into consideration that the future belongs to the sectors of high technologies as engines of economic growth, Bulgaria has completed its analysis and has made its strategic choice. According to the National Reform Programme, our efforts will be focused on sectors such as information and communication technologies, biotechnologies, mechanical engineering, equipment and technologies for reducing energy consumption, renewable energy sources, nanotechnologies and microelectronics. This is not simply a wishful thinking, as it might look, but these ideas are based on quite a careful analysis of the traditional potential of my country and the ability to develop these sectors in the society within the European community. Of course, it requires a lot of efforts, not only from the government, but from the private sector. And here is, at least for Bulgaria, one problem. The state will follow this policy, supported by European funds, by the way, in coordination with science community of my country, and we shall reach the levels which a European country has to achieve in research and development financing. But there is a problem that still the business community is not so much linked to the technological centers, the universities, and this linkage between fundamental science, between research and innovation is still very weak. So one of the priorities of our government will be directed towards this, to change this reality, to create a more stable, vital link between the scholars, the scientists, and the economy, because this is of paramount importance for our development. And finally, the issue of climate change and energy dependence. It has become one of the major topics in all European debates. We all acknowledge that currently the European Union dependence on energy import is estimated to approximately 50%, and if necessary measures are not pursued on time, this level can reach by 2020 about 65%. Of course, such a dependency always creates challenges for stable economic development and for energy independence of the whole European Union. Thus, this is why I'm very glad that since last year, finally in the European Union, a real discussion started on common European energy policy. And we can already face the first results, especially in the spring summit of the European Council. The decision to aim at, by 2020, to aim at 20% of renewable energy sources is something of great importance. Of course, it has to be very carefully debated and discussed between every individual country, taking into consideration the climate realities in a country, the water resources, and all other potential sources of renewables. And naturally, every state in the European Union has to focus and develop its own policy of renewable sources. The other element is increased energy efficiency, and this is part of the policy which Bulgaria is now following, because When I mentioned dependence on energy import, it is very much true, especially for my country, because we are importing more than 70% of the necessary primary energy resources, for which Bulgaria is spending 20% of the GDP every year. And we are facing this reality, that the economy which was developed before in my country in 1970s, 1980s, was not caring about energy efficiency at all, which is making us now much less competitive than we could have been. And this is why one of the lines of policies of the government is in this direction. I already mentioned the optimal use of local and renewable energy resources, and Bulgaria will continue the development of this type of energy. But I would also like to stress, in the context of the common European policies, on two other issues. Diversification of energy sources. It is under discussion, and there is common will to really come to it. From this point of view, Bulgaria can play quite an important role, and positive, I must say, role, in the implementation of such projects as the Nabucco gas pipeline. Of course, if there are enough sources of gas to fill the tube. But politically, my country is very supportive, and I'm glad that finally the European Union is having a common coordinator on the implementation of this project, which will demand a lot of political will from the whole of the European Union, substantial financial resources, but which is important for energy diversification of the European Union. And when we are talking about climate changes, there is one other issue which usually most European politicians are very shy to talk about, although it is a reality in many of the European countries. This is the issue of the nuclear energy. I know there is a very strong opposition towards this type of energy in many of the countries of the European Union. I even saw some of the present persons smiling when they heard about nuclear energy. But this is a reality. They are developing with new technologies. Safety issue, security issues are of paramount importance. And I can tell you that my country suffered a lot from the fact that for many years, and still, there are no common European standards on security of nuclear power plants. And we had to close already four nuclear power plant installations, blocks of our nuclear power plant, which, according to the international standards of International Agency for Atomic Energy, were completely safe. But some of the countries in the European Union said, well, it is not enough from our point of view as Europeans. And I believe we really need to have a debate on this type of energy, of course combined with the issue of their safety, their security, because this is also part of global issues of climate change. And even if Europe for itself reaches our 20% renewables, but no one else around the world, the United States, China, or India, or many other growing producers, won't do it, we are still in the same situation of global warming, of climate change, which will affect us anyway. Of course, I wouldn't dare to say that these remarks which I shared with you are the major, all the answers to the challenges which we are facing. But basically, I would like simply to stress in the end, and of course wait for the comments and questions from the members of this forum, that until now, the cohesion policy has proved to be an effective instrument. It still is a very important instrument for cohesion in the European Union, especially in the enlarged European Union. Because cohesion and solidarity are in the very core of the European idea, of the European mentality, and way of acting. It has to be preserved as an attitude and major purpose of the cohesion policy. And at the same time, of course, our traditional cohesion policies have to adjust and adapt to the new challenges and realities. So it's a very delicate balance and combination of instruments. And I believe that our forum will be an interesting exchange of views, ideas, proposals for how to achieve this common result. And I wish all of you a very interesting discussion and good luck. Thank you.